when a guard would stop and talk to you, you used to stand back and you would yell so people could hear what you were saying to that guard as they walked by or within the vicinity.
But he knew what a convict was going to do before they thought of it themselves. He'd just been around that long, and he was tough.
They'd find Sparky in about every conceivable place you could imagine, which we would, of course, dump.
They'd wait until everybody was locked up, and he would open his door and run down to cell 1 and get a bugler can full of Sparky and take it back to his cells.
She had a kind of a hypnotic power. There were a great many wild cats around the penitentiary, and most people couldn't get near them. But she would stand in the doorway of the cell house and say, "Kitty, kitty, kitty," and those cats would go to her.
Welcome back, folks, to another special episode of Stool Pigeon Saturday. Today I have Steve North, who is the commander, the chef de gare of the local chapter of the 40 and 8. Welcome, Steve. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Can you first kind of introduce yourself? Where are you from? Are you from Boise?
I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, and then after I went in the Navy after I got out of high school.
Oh.
When I got out of the Navy, I went and lived in Las Vegas because that's where my dad was, and then stayed down there for 30 years and moved up here 2001 and remarried and been married 23 years, almost 24 years.
When did you serve in the Navy?
71 through 75, and then I had a couple years of reserve duty.
Okay.
So I was in the Vietnam area and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Is that what kind of made you want to continue being part of a group like that?
I was a tin can sailor. In other words, I worked on destroyers, small ships. And if you've ever seen the movie Greyhound with Tom Hanks, that was my boat.
Okay. Oh, man.
And so, yeah, we had got close to the people, and I always loved my service. I wish I could have stayed longer.
Yeah.
My plan was to stay 20 years, but, I had some officers get in my way and kind of turn my attitude around, so I got out.
Oh,
but I've served with the American Legion for a while. Actually, it's been over 10 years now. Been at the USS Osborne Association for a long time. I do veterans work, volunteer work all over the place. And, of course, I come up here and work with the train car.
Yeah.
But that's my specialty. I love that car.
Yeah. So visitors, just anybody who comes to the old pen, especially on a Saturday, you might see there's a little sign outside of our shirt factory building that says Merci Train on display today. And inside we have a historic boxcar. Steve is going to share some of the history on this. This year marks a pretty big anniversary. Can you talk a little bit about that?
This year is the 75th anniversary. It was February 19th when we got our car in Idaho. I stayed at the Capitol for a while. I've been at BSU for a while. And stayed in some guy's backyard, some general or something. I don't know what it was. Then it was moved over here in 2004, where a gentleman by the name of Mr. Brown redid it, and he was one of the guards at the prison here.
That's
so he redid it, and I met his daughter a couple of years ago. We were doing something for AARP during that captivity thing you guys have.
Captivating Conversation.
Yes.
You can check it out. I'll link it on this episode. You can watch Steve's presentation on that. Yeah. But, you did such a great job. That was really good.
And I carry with me the specifications for that. We have ordered new plaques for the car, and they're here.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for them to get put on, and I'm excited about that. They have to go on a certain way. There's a certain pattern they need to go on. There's 44 of them all together.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward for that to happen. And I carry that right here in my little bag.
It's a boxcar. It's a train car. For most people, it's like that just usually has graffiti on it or something. Like what's so important about these boxcars?
To understand the Merci train car, you got to know a little bit about the history of it. The train cars were originally built back in around 1850. Its primary purpose at first was using to transport men and horses back and forth to the front lines in France. And if you look on the boxcar, there's a little sign that says Hommes 40, Chevaux 8. It's French. It means it would hold either 40 men or 8 horses. So after World War I, that's where the 48 Society kind of came from.
Yeah.
During World War II, it was used for prisoner transport. It was used for the Holocaust, all that kind of stuff. After World War II, our government was in the process of trying to help them rebuild in Europe.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow citizens, the food saving program, which has just been presented to you, has my wholehearted support. I am confident that it will have the support of every American. The situation in Europe is grim and forbidding as winter approaches. Despite the vigorous efforts of the European people, their crops have suffered so badly from drought, floods, and cold that the tragedy of hunger is a stark reality. The nations of Western Europe will soon be scraping the bottom of the food barrel. They cannot get through the coming winter and spring without help, generous help, from the United States and from other countries which have food to spare. I know every American feels in his heart that we must help to prevent starvation and distress among our fellow men in other countries. But more than this, the food saving program announced tonight offers an opportunity to each of you to make a contribution to the peace. We have dedicated ourselves to the task of securing a just and a lasting peace. No matter how long and hard the way, we cannot turn aside from that goal. An essential requirement of lasting peace is the restoration of the countries of Western Europe as free, self-supporting democracies. There is reason to believe that these countries will accomplish that task if we aid them through this critical winter and help them to get back on their feet during the next few years. They must do most of the job themselves. They cannot do it if thousands of their people starve. We believe they can and will do the job if we extend to them that measure of friendly aid which marks the difference between success and failure. Their most urgent need is food. If the peace should be lost because we fail to share our food with hungry people, there would be no more tragic example in all history of a peace needlessly lost.
So they started a friendship car in Los Angeles. It had about 12, 15 cars on it.
Yeah, was this like a private organization that just decided they wanted to do something? Or?
There was a guy who was a reporter, and for some reason his name slips me right now, but it was a Dutch reporter, and he got this thing started, and it started out, like I said, a few boxcars, and they let it off with a big, John Wayne was there, and Elizabeth Taylor just off of her movie with Black Velvet.
Yeah. Just
young kid. So by the time it went there, and then train cars from the lower half of the U.S. and the upper half of the U.S. would make these things across the middle. Excuse me. And then Hawaii donated a couple of boxcars full of sugar. Wow. That's why they got a boxcar at the end. I'll explain that in a minute. But it went across the country, and it started out with just a small amount of boxcars. By the time it got to New York, it had over 700.
That's insane. So
food, fuel, supplies, you name it.
A goodwill project gets a flying start as school children in Hollywood load packages aboard trucks bound for the Friendship Train. The train, carrying gifts of food for starving Europeans, gets a send-off with a typical Hollywood premiere on the first leg of its trip across the continent. The motion picture industry is giving generously, as are thousands young and old who wish to aid our friends abroad who face either untold suffering or communist control. The project is an addition to the governmental grain program headed by Charles Luckman and is an outright offering by Americans. At Fresno, California, crowds greet the Friendship Train as it arrives to hook on additional cars of food donated by the city and surrounding countryside. In addition to milk, canned goods, and other food products, gifts of money have been collected. New carloads of vital supplies are coupled on at each stop, and the train is expected to arrive in New York in 2 sections, hauling 200 cars. Stockton, California is another stop on the Friendship route, over which the railroads are carrying the train at no cost as they're part of the gift program. It's a green light and a clear track for the Friendship Train as it rolls across the salt flats of Utah and roars over the endless trestles spanning Great Salt Lake. Mile after mile over America's Great West speeds the train that is our personal answer as a nation to the hungry of Europe. Through the snowbound rangeland of the cattle country, this mighty symbol of America's generosity rolls ever eastward. Everyone has helped. Railroads have hauled the train free. Unions have donated labor. Civic organizations have banded to fill the cars with the needed food. The spirit of 48 states is in this enterprise, and at every stop, enthusiastic crowds gather to hear Drew Pearson, originator of the Friendship Train. All have worked. The big people and the little folks have pooled their efforts to fill the cars. From whistle stops off the main line to the metropolitan centers, cars are loaded with food and more food. Flour, milk, dried vegetables, dried fruit, canned vegetables, rice. These are the staples that pour into the Friendship Train night and day as it grows steadily, car by car, en route to the Atlantic seaboard. America's pioneers of the vast West once knew the meaning of hunger. Today, their descendants remember. Hundreds of thousands have joined in the mass effort, and the Friendship Train grows ever longer after each stop. It carries to Europe not an official government aid program, but the answer of a free people who have heard the cry of their neighbors in want. It is the free will offering by an America that wants to share. America's gesture of goodwill, the Friendship Train, speeds east through the world's greatest market basket, the Middle West. And the giving is lavish as the train halts at the great wheat centers of America's agricultural heart. Many a car swells the total as the Friendship Train roars into Chicago. From an idea, the train has mushroomed into a project in which millions of eager hands are joined. Food becomes a refrain and a theme as thousands of tons pour into the cars destined for Italy and France. And always it's the youngsters who respond eagerly to the call. The last dash to the East Coast. At Pittsburgh, Mayor Lawrence greets Drew Pearson, the train's originator. Virtually all services, as well as the food, have been donated to make the Friendship Train the symbol of goodwill it is intended to be. And now, look at the mighty train as it rounds famed Horseshoe Curve in Pennsylvania. Railroads have hauled the train across the continent free of charge. So huge has the train become that during the last stages of the trip, its 214 cars are broken up into 5 sections, and it picks up speed for the final run. The train nears its goal as it rolls down the banks of the Hudson to New York, where the food will be transshipped to Europe. It's a race between America's great humanitarian effort and the bitter winter months just ahead overseas. The vast American nation has poured out its surplus, and New York looms at journey's end for the Friendship Train. Here is the traditional big town's welcome. Fireboats spray their salute in lower New York Harbor as 33 of the cars on floats are paraded past the Statue of Liberty, presented by France to the United States 60 years ago. Today, American food returns to France, America's answer to a call of distress. Ceremonies at Independence Hall, the cradle of liberty in Philadelphia, welcome a section of the Friendship Train carrying America's gift of food for a hungry France and Italy. From the cars, the goodwill gift is transferred to a ship. And on the dock, Drew Pearson and Mayor Samuel of Philadelphia see Mrs. Pearson name the United States line vessel the Friendship. Next up on the food ship's route is New York, where additional loading swells the cargo to a total of 8 million pounds. This is the first of the 4 ships which will carry the 500 carloads of food donated. The second will sail to Italy. The line is providing transport free as its part of the Friendship gesture. At the New York ceremonies, thanks from his grateful country is extended by Ludovic Chancel, French Consul General. The gifts from America's heart, which were gathered from every state in the Union, set out to relieve the hardships and hunger of an old ally across the sea.
It took 4 ships to get all this stuff over there.
Wow.
And the thing about it is the stevedores and the people who work the docks, they had to do it by hand because the train, you can't put the train on the ship because of the different gauge of the railroad.
Mm-hmm.
So it took them about a month to get all the stuff loaded.
Yeah.
And they got over there, and one of the ships went to Italy. And eventually it made it back over to Europe because at one point in time some was destroyed, but they fixed it. But once it got into Europe, it started going up and down the rails of France. About 65% of it went to children, schools, and the rest of it got divided up. And there was a couple of French veterans. One of them was named Picard, not the one that you're thinking of.
Jean-Luc.
And they decided that they were going to build and remodel 49 boxcars. Okay. And those went out, and they were filled up. There was a special thing that the president put on. The president of France said, "This is what's got to be on the car." And there's a whole paragraph that I have, and basically it's handmade toys, clothes. There was a wedding dress in each car.
Okay.
The wedding dress would go to the governor of the state, and he would give a family, do it, and then take pictures and send it back to France. There is a book out called The Wedding Dress, but it's about the one from Louisiana. Wow. But everything was done. The president of France had put a vase in each boxcar from him. There was mortar shells that had been carved and done. There was toys, games, clothes, you name it, it was in there.
Yeah.
There is a book out called Boxcar Diplomacy, and it's sold here at the Penitentiary. And it lists some pictures, but there is a website you can go to. And it's mercytrain.org, mercitrain.org. And that's the main website. There's a place on there you can click on and go to each state. And there's a lot of pictures and stuff that came out of that, a lot of history. That's how it got started. And once I got into this 48 Society a few years ago, one of the things that we like to do is come up here and be like a host. Mm-hmm. And once I started learning more about it, it took me down some rabbit holes. It just hooked me up so bad. So I got pretty knowledgeable. I'm also the boxcar director for the local Voyager. And that's where it got started.
People come to the old pen, and they're always like, you guys have so much besides just the prison's history. You've got this weapons museum, and then we have this international story, this historic boxcar. And I'm always telling people, like, come in here, come check this thing out. And they're like, okay, cool. And then I explain it to them, and they're just blown away. How's the response when you talk to folks?
I have people come in. Some of them said, I've seen a train car before, but I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
One of the nice things about our train car, there was a large statue of the Greek god Nike. Well, actually, it's Samothrace or something like that, but it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
It was on the boxcar. It now sits in the rotunda at the Capitol building.
Yeah, our state capitol. Just
if you got to watch any of the Olympics in Paris this year, there were people going to the Louvre, and it would show the original who's up on the grand stage at the Louvre. So I thought, I can't believe that. So that kind of got me a little more hooked. But I talked to people who've been into France. I had a young Air Force lady here recently showing me some pictures of, she was at Normandy, at the beaches of Normandy, in the Rose, and some of these landmarks that they have. Well, it just hooked me for like 30 minutes. You know? Everybody else, I don't see anybody else. I get kids want to know about the train.
Yeah.
I carry a business card. I had some made up. It's got the mercytraincard.org on it, and a little bit about who the 40 and 8 is. And so you just talk to people, and everybody comes by. Some like they'll look at it and go, oh, okay, that's cool. And some want to ask questions. And when you start asking questions, that's how you learn. It's kids that learn.
Yeah.
And you get the high school kids that come in with their mom and dad and stuff, and they have that little Lita car in there that was built back in the 70s. And I tease them, that's about the right size for you. And we start talking. Next thing you know, we get over to the train, and now I get to teach a young mind about some French history and about our history. And there's a lot of them that are really want to know more. Yeah. So I give them the card, and they go look up the website. I've actually had people come back with bringing their friends over to look at this thing. Yeah. And they start talking about the train car. So there's a lot of history. Mm-hmm. You figure that thing started back in 1869. You figure trains were coming across the United States. They met down here in Promontory Point. There was a Central Pacific train, and numbers 119 and 60, the Jupiter. And they met in Promontory Point and had that golden spike. I found out there was actually 4 spikes. There was the golden one, there was a silver one that Nevada had donated, and there was a couple others that were kind of half and half, but the original golden spike right now is in a museum at Stanford University Cantor Art Center. So there's history about trains everywhere. And when I lived in Salt Lake, don't tell anybody this, but I'm 10, 11 years old, I was going down the train depot and hopping trains and riding 30 miles up to Ogden, and then turn around, come back later. I called Mom, hey, I'm out playing. Okay, fine, Because back then, you could do that. You can't do that today.
I'm out playing a couple cities away.
I used to ride. I get on the bus line. I had every bus scheduled for Salt Lake City, and I would ride around and talk to the drivers. I go to the end of the route and come back.
Oh my God.
Sometimes I get out by my grandma's house and go and see her for a while, and nobody said nothing to me. Nobody bothered me.
Right. Yeah.
But that was a whole different. That was the time that I was raised, and that's how I brought up.
Yeah.
So I like to try to give that aspect of niceness and easiness and what it's really like to be free, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's what this train did.
Yeah.
And one thing I will tell you that kind of amazes, how our government is tight. They won't do nothing. When the train car came over, the 80th Congress, they did what they call a do-nothing Congress because they didn't do anything. Right. They waived all the tariffs, all the taxes, everything. So basically it came over for free. Yeah. And when it got over here, the Merci train got over here. It sat in New York Harbor for a day because they waited for the other boat that was with it because they had French dignitaries that had to go out with each state with the train car.
Okay.
To make the presentation. So that took a while.
Yeah.
But they got it off. They unloaded them on flatbeds and trucks and trains because the rail's different. The gauge is narrower.
Yeah.
So they had to ship them out, and we got ours in February of '49.
So what happened to the boxcars that we sent over in '47? Were those kind of demolished?
There was no boxcars that went over there.
Oh, it was just they unloaded.
They unloaded everything
goods.
On the ship and sent the ships over.
Okay.
Because the trains are no good because they don't fit on the rails.
That makes total sense. Why did they send us all entire boxcars instead of just doing the same?
That was just their way of saying thank you. That way you had the boxcars to exhibit and to explain.
Yeah.
Some of the states took the boxcars and put them up in nice indoor places, and some of the gifts inside they display. Over the years, some of those have just disappeared. There was 49 boxcars sent over. There's only 43 of them left. 6 of them been scrapped. I might have shaved one this morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the nice thing about it is that they have been more and more getting redone. Mm-hmm. Hawaii boxcar, it was split with the government of Washington. And DC. They got the boxcar at a couple of gifts. Washington kept most of the stuff. Mm-hmm. And there was a picture that boxcar right now, it looks like it's about to fall apart.
Oh, jeez. And
that's the one that's on the website now. However, it has been under construction and getting rebuilt, getting refurbished because of the 75th anniversary.
It's such an iconic, representation of friendship and building trust with our oldest ally, with France, as a country.
One of the things it's done for me is it's got me in touch with a lot of these other people, the other boxcar directors from across the country. The one who I deal with most is a guy named David Edel, is in Texas, and he's actually the grand boxcar director for the whole 48 Society. And he's been helping me do a lot of stuff. Matter of fact, if we need any supplies, I call him up. Boom. It's just something I love to do. Yeah. I love to tell people about it and be here about it. And I think that the more people that come by and learn about this train car and its history and why it's a history, and it goes back to the same thing. If somebody needs something in Meridian or Boise, people donate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If people get put out of their house because of fire or something, all of a sudden people come in and help them out and do things. There's a health emergency, kids got sick or like that. GoFundMe pages come up. That's just the kind of people we are. Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we did for France. We were given, thank you very much. You need help. Here we come.
Yeah.
And it was overwhelming when you figure started out with 12, 15 train cars. You ended up with 700.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah.
This is back where I kind of wished I was in that age and got to ride that train and see all that stuff.
Gosh.
I've read books and I've read stories. I've seen some pictures, but they don't do it justice.
Right.
They really don't. You have to learn the whole scope of the picture and understand why it's there. It's history. That's all it is. And I'm a history buff. I have been for years.
Yeah, that's why we love you here. It's great.
But, and I get people come in here and we talk. We talk about the prison. We talk about the other exhibits in there.
Yeah.
Now I understand they're redoing some things in there, so that's going to change a few things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what's coming up.
Us too. That's where all my time has been is trying to create something even more amazing, highlight more of our artifacts and all of the work that we've been preserving. Now let's find a way to display it and make it open to the citizens of Idaho, of the country that visit.
I get people that visit. I get a lot of people like during the summer when they have like sports and families are up here for games and stuff like that. Oh, they got some time. They come up there. And you see groups of 20, 30 kids come up and stuff, and I'm like going, oh, this is going to be a good day.
Yeah, they're going to love this.
And I get people who are veterans. I get people who are still in service, and they're the best ones to talk to. Now, I carry this little bracelet. They can't see it on the radio, but it's a little thing that the American Legion makes, and it has all the branches of services, little pictures and things on it. And I carry some of these in my bag.
That's really cool.
And when I start talking to some of these veteran stuff, I give them a bracelet.
That's amazing.
Now, I'm out of the ladies' sizes. I got to get some more of those. But yeah, and I have mine all the time. I never go without it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they are. And I give them out. And I think if I can share what I know with my knowledge of my service, and that's usually what some of the conversations start. They see my Navy hat or my 40 and 8 hat, and they start asking questions. We talk about service.
Yeah.
And then I get that whole road. Train cars don't exist anymore. Now I meet my friends and my brothers and sisters in the service. So, yeah, I only get to do it on Saturdays. I wish I could do it more.
Yeah.
But this is what I like to do. This is me.
So visitors on Saturday, you can talk to Irv or Steve, and you can see some of the artifacts. If you're from out of state, if you're visiting, they'll show you all kinds of artifacts. We have a great slideshow that you put together of
that took me a couple months.
Boxcars. Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's so nice. Like I see people sit and watch it and like look for their state, and kids get all excited.
Oh yeah.
Here comes Utah. Here comes. Oh wow.
Yeah. I've been to a few. I've been to a couple, but I didn't pay attention to them. But once I got into this, now I'm more seeing. I've been to the one in Utah. I've been to the one in Louisiana. Matter of fact, the ship that I was on was doing a reunion, and we were in Baton Rouge. Well, just the capital. Got to see the train car. Got to see some artifacts.
Yeah.
We are planning a trip next year. My ship has a reunion in Rhode Island this year.
Okay.
And it's a ways to go. We thought, you know what, she wants to see her brother before he dies, because we're old. So we're going to make a trip across country. And one of the things we're doing is I have a list of all the boxcars and where they're at, and we're going to hit as many of them as we can along the way. We're not going to go crazy out of the way. Matter of fact, where we're at in Rhode Island, where the train car is in Rhode Island, is only 24 miles away.
Right.
And I've got days where I got nothing to do. Well, that's a half-hour trip.
There you go.
Get out, take a couple pictures.
Yeah. See, can you connect with the 40 and 8 group in Rhode Island? Or is there one that's active? Yeah.
There is.
That's awesome. You've got a community wherever you go. That's
There's one in every state.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think Sandusky, Ohio is where the national office is.
Yeah.
And we're coming through that way. And I'll stop in and say hi.
How can people join the 40 and 8? Like, what are the
requirements? The 40 and 8 is by invitation only.
Okay.
That was one of the problems years ago, where they were taking people that were with the American Legion, but they started going on their own, and that kind of they spread apart. We still work together, but no, that's invitation only. We have people that we know that we think will be good for the group, because 40 and 8 is basically we're committed to charitable and patriotic aims. Our purpose is to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, to promote the well-being of veterans, their widows, widowers, orphans, And we also actively participate in select charitable endeavors, which include programs that promote child welfare and nurses training. We have a $1,500 scholarship for nurses, so we look for people in the nursing program. We like to go with the juniors.
Yeah.
Because they're the best ones. We sophomore, junior area. $1,500 is not a lot of money. It doesn't pay for a lot of classes, but it buys a ton of books.
Yeah,
Totally. The price of books today, yeah.
I mean, any cash, any scholarship helps. Yeah.
So we've actually had 3 winners so far.
Wow. Okay.
Our main thing for the state is in Mountain Home, but they never do anything with the nurses. We do, because we got Boise State.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Great program.
It is an awesome program. So yeah, and so we that's what we do. We just whatever, you know.
Yeah. We in the West, in the United States, we're providing this. Is anything happening from Russia, from the East, to provide for the French people, or any reconstruction effort?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
The help that we were giving them was coming mostly from our government. There was a little bit of the Canadian government. They sent down a few boxcars. Yeah. But no, Russians and those guys, because they're not really, I guess, considered allies back then. Mm-hmm. And even today, I don't think they do much for that. Yeah. But now I was told, and I have not seen it, but I'm going to see it when I go to Washington next year, that somewhere near the monument, or the unknown soldier thing, there's a little place off the side where that plaque and stuff was made, and it sits there for the 48 year. So I'm going to go check that out.
Take some photos of that.
Oh yeah, there is. This book that we have, this Boxcar Diplomacy, there's pictures of what they call landmarks. They're big cement things. They're round. They're like landmark. Okay, this is the country. All the stuff is on it. And there's a road that a lot of the soldiers took during that time. There's like 100 mileposts on it.
Yeah.
Some of them are still there. Some of them got in General's backyard for his barbecue pit. They're all over the place. But I'd like to see some life. This is why I'm looking forward to going. Yeah. One day I'm going to get over there.
When you went down to Louisiana, did you go to the World War II Museum?
Oh, I did.
Wasn't that amazing?
That place is so cool.
I want to go back.
I went to the Louis Armstrong one.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all right there by the Capitol building.
Yeah.
Well, the Capitol building is where they hold their artifacts from the train car. And the train car sits outside in a little shelter. Got a little sign on it like we do here.
I didn't notice that. I was all around that Louis Armstrong.
When you walk out of the Louis Armstrong Museum and you turn right, you see the Capitol building over there.
Oh my!
Well,
gosh.
About 500 feet in front of that museum is that boxcar sitting there.
I was right there. I didn't even see it. Well, I guess I have to go back.
Well, we split up into groups. Half went to the Capitol, and half went to the museum. So I went to the museum pretty quick. I had a lot of times. I'll go across the Capitol.
Yeah.
Well, I'm chucking across the yard to the Capitol, and I go, "What's the train doing here?" So I stopped and read about that. Oh, that's kind of cool. Went over to the boxcar.
Yeah.
Went over to the museum, at the Capitol building, saw some more stuff. When I got home, I thought, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And that time I was living in Vegas, and I was told that the train car for Nevada was in Reno. Oh. It's not. It's in Henderson, which is 5 miles from Vegas.
Oh, geez. Okay.
It's a suburb of Vegas, like here's Boise and Meridian.
Oh, yeah.
It's that close. They just merged together. So I found the boxcar.
Nice.
And I talked to my wife about it, my daughter, and I told my kids with her because that's where they're at. And my daughter like, this is nuts. So every now and again she calls me, wants to send me pictures about the train, so I take her pictures. The lady who wrote the book on Boxcar Diplomacy was here a few years ago, Jane Sweetland, and very short girl. But I have some pictures of her and me taken together.
Nice.
And my copy of the Boxcar Diplomacy has a very nice personalized autograph in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know where she lives. I have her email address, and we talk. We converse.
That's awesome. Yeah.
She's due up here again next year, maybe.
Oh, man.
But that's her thing.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other boxcar directors around the country, mostly because of the anniversary thing, and got to know some of them. It's once you get involved in this train car, it's history. Once you get involved in this thing, you start going down these little rabbit holes. Yeah. And I'm going to read about this. Whoa, I want to read about this. Well, let me go read about this. And next thing you know, it's 4 hours later.
Right.
You missed dinner, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
my wife would bring me a sandwich. Hey, thanks. I'm watching this. And so yeah, and especially that video that sits down there, that one that we made, It's 100 and, I think 128, 130 slides on PowerPoint.
Yeah.
That took me a little over a month. And I was in playing, I would go in, and I got kind of OCD about it.
Yeah.
I had a flag, copy of the flag up in the corner with the state so you knew who it was, and every slide had that same thing on it. So that took a while. And then I started doing pictures and finding pictures and going to this website and that website. And, oh man, it was crazy.
Yeah.
She thought I was out of my mind. But then when I got it done and I brought it up here and it started playing, now it's part of the permanent little computer up there. So
yeah,
it's something that you guys like and something that other people have liked.
Yeah,
and
loving it.
The tour that you have here, there's a nice tour that people can take, starts down there right by the shirt factory.
Mm-hmm.
So I stand out there by the door and kind of steal some people.
Yeah.
But when the tour's over, all of a sudden I see half a dozen people come in here that got the old name tag on. I was in the last door. I want to see what this was.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's fun. It really is.
I love that.
There's the train car. There's an old doctor's buggy back from way back when, which I don't understand how a guy would ride it. There's no shocks, no cushion on the seat.
Yeah.
Then you got that little Lita car that's in there. Then you have that bus, that gospel bus that's in there.
The gospel coach, yeah.
And so we start talking a little bit about it. I've learned about each one of them, just studying. And I'll meet them, we'll start talking. Well, they come in the door, and the first thing they run into is a train car. And if I can get them the train car, they're mine.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I have people that ask and want to know something, and I have people that's cool. It's just how people are.
Yeah.
But you meet all kinds up here, young, old.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually made some friends with some little kids.
Yeah, yeah.
7, 8, 9 years old. They don't understand the train car, but they remember me and the train guy. I'm the train guy.
Right, yeah.
And I have people that come back because they bring their families and friends up to the penitentiary. You have a lot of business that way, a lot of repeat business. And they come to the train car, hey, I remember you. And they start, this train's really cool. Well, I find out where they're from, and I got my little list right here. I say, your car, you're from Tennessee. Yours is at the American Legion post there on Marion Avenue. And I go, that's 2 blocks from my house. I've never seen it. So then I show them a picture of it. Okay, we're checking this out when we get home. So yeah.
Before I worked here, I had no clue about this story. For the first couple of years I worked here, it was just like, what is this train? We didn't have a lot of scholarship on it. We didn't have staff understanding of it. And I feel like since you and the 40&8 have come, it's really inspired us as a staff to really understand that train car. And
staff up here has been awesome. But no, I think we've got it covered. All I want to say to people is, if you have not seen the train car, come down. You got people in town from other states, bring them down. They can look at their train car.
That's right.
And learn some history, have some fun. There's a lot of neat things to do at the penitentiary. Everybody that I've talked to has been on tour say it's absolutely wonderful. Get pictures of you, take it in a cell. And if your wife's smart, she'll lock you in there, but that's okay. But no, it's all history. You just got to want to come down, learn about it, and then once you learn about it, we get you hooked up and get you on the road. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Saturdays you can talk to Irv and Steve here, but if you come any day of the week and you ask our front desk, more than likely we'll be more than happy to take you out and open up the shirt factory so you can see the boxcar. So that goes to any listener right now. We love sharing the history. It's one of my favorite things. If I'm going in just to make sure the heat's on in the building on a Friday and somebody sees me open it, hey, what's in there? I tell them the history of the boxcar because it's so amazing. And the Lita. I show them the Lita because it's just such a funny little car.
Oh, I know. I like that little car.
Yeah, people are always curious. So
they are.
And I love it. That's my favorite thing is that questions, what is that? Why is this?
That's the nice thing about the penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
It's old, it's historical.
Yeah.
People have questions.
Compared to other train cars, how is Idaho on a scale of preservation?
We are probably, I would say, the upper echelon.
Yeah.
Because of the 75th anniversary, some places have gone crazy. Restored the whole thing and done everything, new plaques. There is a company here in the country that you can get the new plaques for the train car. Yeah. There's 44 plaques on the train car that indicates all the little cities and stuff in France that it went through. You can buy those and you put them in the right order. There's an order they go into per France. And there's a history story there. And yeah, so it's nuts.
It's such an amazing symbol, especially right now with so many conflicts in the Middle East and in Ukraine and, Russia. It's a symbol of like hope and peace and what happens after all these conflicts are over. I hope that we as humanity can band together and help rebuild. I hope that this serves as a symbol to inspire some folks.
It does, because like I said, because the way I was brought up and how I was raised, a lot of the people that come in here, there are some older people my age, and that can relate to me.
Yeah.
And once we can get that relationship going, then we get into the family members and other people they brought with us. And then we get more people to understand the history, that how we help another country. I mean, we were at war with these people.
Right.
We blew up their land and stuff. But now we're all done, we're friends again. So it's like that story they have out there that during Christmas one year, where the two different sides put down their arms, sat up, had drinks together, and dinner. If socialized for like an hour or two.
Yeah.
When Christmas was over, they separated, got the guns back up, and started shooting each other. Anything historical like that we can tell, anything that we can share with people, to show what a great country we really are. And the United States is full of passionate people who like to help each other, and France is now our ally, and they send us a boxcar full of stuff.
Yeah.
Some neat stuff too.
Yeah.
But you got to go to the website, mercytrain.org, look it up, and you can look at every train car in the country.
That's great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
We have a tradition here. If I were to say do your own time, how would you respond to that?
I think that would take me back to my childhood and where I was raised. I was raised to be a free spirit. I was raised to help people. Every job I've had since as far back as I can remember has been customer service, working with people. I was a dealer in Vegas. I was a pit boss in Vegas. I was a hotel manager in Vegas. I love working with people. And this is an extension of that. So if I do my own time, then it's going to be doing whatever I can to help people, to educate people, and just basically be a nice guy and friend and see how many people I can affect. You know what I mean?
I love it. Amen to that.
That's just me.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Steve. Everybody, thank you for listening. Do your own time. Do your own number. We'll talk to you next week.
If you enjoyed Behind Gray Walls, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. Not only do we get to hear your feedback about the show, but it helps others find us as well. If you're interested in finding out more about the podcast and to see mugshots of the inmates featured in today's episode, follow our Facebook group at Behind Gray Walls Podcast. And we have a podcast Instagram as well. You can find us on Instagram at Behind Gray Walls Pod.
The battle to save food in the United States is the battle to save our own prosperity and to save the free countries of Western Europe. Our self-denial will serve us well in the years to come. The voluntary program is the best way for us to do the job. We believe that self-control is the best control. From now on, we shall be testing at every meal the degree to which each of us is willing to exercise self-control for the good of all. The program which has been presented to you tonight, if faithfully carried out, will save all the grain we need. Hungry people in other countries look to the United States for help. I know that they will be strengthened and encouraged by this evidence of our friendship. I know that they will be waiting with hope in their hearts and a fervent prayer on their lips for the response of our people to this program. We must not fail them.